Yeah, we all right. I got some anxiety, but we packing these bags and getting ready to go to the studio. If y'all can just pray for us, please.
We're praying. We're praying hard. We got you. God's got you.
Always praying.
Army strong.
Hey, we'll check in a little bit. Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Love you. Stay safe. Love you.
Love you. Be safe.
People that need help. Speaking on the situations from Chino Hills and from
CPS reports say that it began when I was 3 months old, but I remember very clearly at 4 years old. It's the first time that somebody hurt me and I didn't have drugs. It was the first time I was awake and I knew what was going on. I was at my babysitter's, and out of all the kids, she kept bringing her boyfriend around me. She kept telling me to come sit in the room on his lap, talk to him. And one day I got really irritated that he kept trying to touch me, so I started fighting him, and she beat me. She beat me, and she told me that he was going to do whatever he wanted to do anyway, so she locked me in the room. And when he stopped, she took my stuff, and she threw me outside in the driveway in Ritchie Canyon until my two biological sisters got off the school bus and they found me. I was in shock. I just sat there. And the bruises were so bad. The pain was so bad, I didn't know what to do with myself.
when I was 18 or 19 years old, I started trying to look for answers. And I wasn't really, I know who my mom is. I don't need those answers. My former last name it means nothing to me. I don't want anything from it. I never have and I never will. I couldn't wait to get rid of the name. But when I turned 18, 19, I started trying to still fill in those holes to my life that I'm still missing. And I tried to go back to the hospital, St. Bernardine's, California. I tried to go back and get some type of history. I started talking to my babysitter. It was a weird situation because she was placed in my life as someone that I started talking to in a relationship type way. I didn't know who she was. I didn't remember her.
Excellent. Hey, quit playing with yourself.
Okay.
I can hear every time you squeeze that thing.
All right. Well, I don't know where to throw this. Quit playing with yourself. That stopped a while ago, but here we go. I don't know where I can't. I would toss it. I can't see anything. So, I'm just going to get low. Okay, I can see it. When I went over to her house, I eventually found out things started coming back. We talked, we fought, and she told me that I didn't understand what was going on, that there were many answers that I was missing, which already there's many holes to my story, to the things that I know myself. I stopped looking for those answers when I was adopted, but and I don't need those answers, but I tried to look anyways. I went back to St. Bernardine's Hospital. I started looking for answers, and I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know if I wanted that answer. I have my mom, and I know who my mother is. Shelly Carter, I know who my mother is, but I just wanted answers. And she kept telling me she would give them to me, and she lied once again. Everybody thinks that it's your elite predators, your celebrities, your blue check mark, your political suits, your very credible people that you're supposed to be scared of, or you think that that's the only people that are involved in corruption, like Child Protective Services or secret societies, military and government corruption. You think that that's it, and it's not. And that's what they want you to think. They know that you don't know. But it's not just your elite celebrities. It's your everyday people. It's your lawyers, your doctors, your pediatricians that you take your children to, your everyday neighbor, your teachers, your daycare facilitators. My babysitter had the keys to the elementary schools in her area.
My surrogate, I don't call her a mother, but my surrogate, she took her to court. She went to court with it, and she lost the case. And then I wondered, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Why did everybody treat me like I did something wrong at 4 years old? Why did everybody treat me like it was my fault? In the courtroom, they made her shake her purse out and give her the last bit of change that she had in her wallet because she said she didn't give her the rest of the money for that day. And she did. And then she took me home and beat me because she lost the case. Everything became something that was normal since that day. That day never leaves me. And ever since that day, I thought everything that was going on was something that had to happen and something I did. So I stayed quiet until I was about 12. And then every boyfriend, every piece of authority, everyone that she brought in my life, she kept telling me she didn't get enough money from me. The first home, I thought everything was going to be fine. I lived in a home in Fontana, California. And I lived with a 16-year-old boy, a mom, and a baby that was no more than a year or two old. 2 foster sisters. And my 2 foster sisters ended up leaving. But one of them was having sex with the foster brother before she left. So when she left, I was the only one there. He started coming in my room. I called my mentor. I told her the truth. They moved me from that home. And from there, I lost count of how many foster homes and group homes I've been in. I went to 19 high schools in 1 year. Never stayed anywhere longer than 2 weeks. Never stayed anywhere longer than a month. My social workers knew what was happening, but instead of wanting to make an extra report or having to make an extra report, they just kept moving me. They wanted to collect the check because I was a high-risk kid. I was a high-risk kid for court. I was a high-risk kid for foster homes, and eventually I ended up in group homes. I went from level 5, which is basically like a foster home, to level 14, which is lockdown. You can't stand up or sit down without asking for permission. You can't go to the bathroom unless you ask for permission. You can't leave your room, and you have medicine that you have to take no matter what. And then I met my pimps. And I started talking to someone online. And I thought that I met him and he was going to be my boyfriend, and I'd have this relationship. And I was with him for a little bit. His name was Keith. He had, he was everything somebody like me needed in a time where nobody gave a damn and everything that I owned was in a trash bag, and moved from place to place to place. And he made me fake IDs. We met at the Stringers Bar in San Bernardino, California. From there, I thought it was okay, and we spent maybe only a couple weeks together before one day I got nosy and I went into his wallet because something wasn't sitting right, and I knew he made fake IDs, and I just wanted to check what else was really going on. And I found too many IDs of different last names, from Keith Karvatsky, Keith Turner, Keith Harrison. And he found me looking through his stuff, and he beat the hell out of me. He cracked my ribs. He put me in the hospital. And he told me that you're mine now. You're my property. You don't tell anybody else. And I did it. I did what he said. And it went from little jobs in a car to elite jobs and elite parties, orgies that were with celebrities, the Getty Los Angeles Museum, traveling to the Buckingham Palace, military bases. Sorry. My heart's pounding really fast. To run. I had enough. And he would have his friends come pick me up. And they would take me over on Marina Beach Drive, right in front of the car dealerships. They would have their way. And then they would take me back home. Until they got a trap house on Nason Street. They would bring other kids. Nobody questions the cops. Nobody questions why their cars are parked the wrong way. Nobody questions what they're doing. Everybody thinks that if the cops are sitting in a weird spot in the middle of a deserted field, then somebody did something wrong and they were probably trying to catch them. And no, that's not true. I tried. I tried to run. I tried to scream. I tried to fight. And they would just put handcuffs on me. And then I had enough. I tried to kill myself.
Well, my career in law enforcement, I actually joined the Brotherhood of Freemasons.
Okay.
Blue
Yeah, how'd you
Lodge.
get into that? How'd you get into that?
Man, you know, a lot of cops are involved with that.
Really?
Oh yeah. It's a thing that I'm not saying you must do, but 95% of them do. One of my supervisors, he was a lieutenant. pretty much came up to me and asked me, "Hey, you want to join a club?" And I'm like, "What kind of club is it?" You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, it's a Freemasons. I did my background, on them and did my research. And
Sworn to secrecy.
yeah, you sworn never to divulge any information, but to always protect and help your fellow brother. That's it. But see, if you start exposing them, they'll go after you, they'll go after your family, they'll try to kill you because the government is part of it. It's not only civilians, the government is in cahoots with these people.
Right.
And there's sectors throughout the whole country that's split apart. I don't know if it's northeast, south, and west, but they have witches that are in charge of these sectors and warlocks that are in charge of these sectors, and they pretty much monitor the satanic, I'm going to use the satanic, members. And a lot of them are politicians, heavily involved in witchcraft. And they have to do certain rituals and certain things in order for them to gain favor with the Rothschilds, and then they send orders of doing things for that family.
Wow.
They give them orders, and with those orders money comes with it.
Exactly.
They're all demons. They're all demon possessed. They're vessels. They're fleshly vessels that are compartmentalized. They're like shattered. They shatter their brains, and it's just like MK Ultra, right? They use MK Ultra to break the minds of people, and then they mold them the way that they want them to go.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Or satanic ritual abuse. That all comes together with the Freemasons.
I want you guys to think about your mental hospitals. A lot of your horror movies are based around asylums, mental asylums. Most of us know that there was tortures that went on in the mental asylums, lobotomies, different types of things like that. Those things are real. A lot of your MK Ultra survivors have been through mental hospitals. A lot of them get put back into mental hospitals to reset their programming if it starts to break down. A lot of your survivors have been raped in mental hospitals. A lot of them have been put in dental type chairs for programming and resetting purposes. Most of the survivors that you come across are going to be terrified of the dentist, and there's a reason for that. They use a lot of medications for programming as well. For instance, your CPS kids will all be on different types of medication. If you go buy a medication and you pull out that pamphlet that comes with it, there's a big long thing with risks and side effects and those type of things. They have to test those medications on people, and they test them on the people that are in the mental hospitals. They test them on the children in CPS care because they can give them the medications and find out the side effects and use them for experiments. So there's so many layers of things that are being done. It's just the worst evil that you've ever seen.
I went into mental hospitals. I was in solitary confinement because I fought back so hard, because I started seeing the corruptness in the mental hospitals, and that became my fault too. She was in the hospital when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I was going to Boniol Elementary in San Bernardino, California. I also went to Del Rosa Elementary in San Bernardino, California. But at the time that I was going to Boniol, she was put into Patton, the hospital for the criminally insane. I don't know why. And I remember some of it, but I don't remember a lot of it. But I had to go on visitation to Patton. Boniel Elementary sits on the same street, right next door, pretty much, to Patton Hospital. And I would have to go visit her. And when I visited her, weird things happened. They would put me on a table and play that clown game with me. You know how you try to stab your hands and not miss with a knife? They would put me on a table and they would put food around me and they would stab at me. I remember that. I was 15 in the 10th grade. By the time I went into Child Protective Services, first I went to Riverside ETS and Chino Hills Mental Hospital. I was in Chino Hills for a month in a psych ward. The nurses there and the psych ward had a system, and they knew that everybody was on medication so they could get away with things like sexual abuse, pictures, writing fake things in the chart but discussing it over someone's bed. And because they thought you were high and drugged, they didn't think you'd remember. But I wasn't supposed to be on medication. I was given medication, but I wasn't supposed to be on it. There was no reason. And one night I was awake when two nurses came in the room. My roommate had sliced her arm. She sliced it from here down. And they used to always have to change her bandages because she would try to reopen them at night. And I never understood why. She would scream and she would try to reopen them. I'd wake up in pain and I didn't know why.
Keith. So I wasn't telling her what was going on. I was trying to test the waters to see where she was at, because there's so many people that turn for money or turn for the right amount of information, or because they're scared. So I didn't know what to tell her. So I was always testing her when I started noticing that she cared. She genuinely just cared. So then I started wearing my wedding rings around her. I started letting her in and telling her about the bruises. I started letting her know about, I have jobs, or I serve my country, because I didn't know how to just outright tell her what was going on and put her in danger too. So I just kept saying, I'm married, and and you.
She showed up with a very expensive engagement ring. So I asked her to let me see it. I smashed it.
She smashed it.
Kids don't marry adult men. That's just not, that doesn't know.
I was like, oh my God, this woman.
But I didn't know that got her in trouble. And she
Yeah.
didn't say anything at the time that got her in
Big
trouble with
trouble.
her pimp. There was just so much. The fact that she was saying that she served her country, or she was serving her country, I didn't even know what that meant. So I had to start researching and listen more closely to the things that she was saying. But yeah, she had military level MK Ultra programming. They traffic off the military bases. They traffic to military personnel, high level military. She was flown off the military bases. She was flown on the stealth bomber by the pimp that was handling her, Keith, he was starting to get elite jobs and taking her to elite places, which I didn't know at the time. While she was in CPS care, a lot of things can go on in a very short period of time with MK Ultra programming, with trafficking. They can do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time.
It was, there were some homes where I wasn't even there that long. There was a family that I was dating the son that was just coming up to be at the continuation school to hang out. He didn't even go to the school. He had already graduated. And then he introduced me to his mother and father, who were swingers, and into so many crazy things. And eventually I was their son's girlfriend, and then they're engaged to be their wife as well. There's just so many different situations. There's not a way to just spit this all out on a camera. This is, it's not easy to just get here and do this. You know, a lot of people see us in our sweats and, you know, in our car, and there's lights and there's cameras, and, you know, we put on makeup, we put on real clothes, found real clothes in our storage, and we're trying to tell you the truth. I hope you look past that and you can see that after all this time, after everything that we've been through, we've tried to pricelessly show you the truth. There's no benefit of ours. There's no gain. We don't need notoriety, fame, a media cookie, a pat on the back for surviving and doing what just needed to be done.
I will continue to take care of Allie. This has never been about Allie. This is about letting you guys know that we're in a war, and most of you don't know about it. You don't know what it looks like. You don't even know that it exists. There are millions of kids, little kids, that are being trafficked, that are being sold for organ harvesting, that are being tortured in ways you can't even fathom. We owe them to stand for them and to fight for them and to educate ourselves so we can do the right thing. This is not about Allie. This is not about the other survivors. This is about the children that are still stuck in slavery in the United States, across the globe, but in the United States. Most of you guys don't even know that something like that would happen here. But now you do know, and you have to move. You have to stand.
Your organizations are going out of state, or excuse me, out of the country to handle a situation that they won't touch in their own backyards. What sense does that make? What sense does that make? Do you know how many millions of children and victims, survivors are here in the United States of America, but we have people that are headed out of country and asking you to give them money to go out of their own backyards? It doesn't make any sense.
A lot of you might want to dismiss this because you think it's political, you think it's red side or blue side. These are crimes against humanity. They don't have a red side or a blue side. They don't have a color. They don't have a nationality. Children are being trafficked across our southern borders. Allie was trafficked across our southern borders. Allie went on drops across our southern borders. If you hear this information and you just dismiss it because you think it's political, you've done a great disservice and you're part of the problem. There's so many layers when you're dealing with a survivor of MK Ultra, almost like an onion. There's just layer upon layer upon layer of things. The common misconception is that once you remove them from trafficking or whatever situation they're in, and you put them in a good place and you put them in a good home, that everything is okay, and that's not the case at all. If anything, life gets harder and life gets more intense and worse for them. We have dealt with gang stalking. When Allie first came, it took me a while to realize that on ritual nights or on different times, there was callback programming. That looks like sometimes the phone would ring, her phone would ring, if she would answer it, it would be a series of tones. It can look like somebody sitting across the street from our home and honking their horn a certain sequence of times. It can look in a lot of variety of ways, but it would trigger her programming and she would try to leave the house. She was trying to get to cult rituals. Sometimes she would just go down. When I say go down, she would drop where she stood. If she hit her head on the ground, she didn't try to break her fall. It was just like everything just stopped and she just would drop. She would sometimes go into a trance. She would not know where she was. There was just so many things, just layers upon layers of things that go on for survivors. When she first came, I would normally, with my other kids, I would take them to do normal things. We would go to the beach, we would go on a picnic, we would go to Disneyland, we would do normal things. But when I was trying to take Allie to those things, she would go into a trance, she would pass out, she would get very sick. Initially, we would just not go. We would change the plans.